Go to the first bill on the agenda, and that's House Bill 1037. I'll call on Senator Polk to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll remember, last year we passed the Deficit Appropriation Act, which required state agencies to let us know in advance when they feel that they're going to go into a deficit situation. This bill is asked for by peer. They reviewed that law and saw how it was working, and they have asked that we make some changes to it. And this is the bill that amendments that will do that. First, it provides more clarification on the different types of deficits. It adds additional deficit and supplemental appropriation, additional appropriation and supplemental appropriation, as still including the deficit appropriation. It requires the use of a standardized request form promulgated by LBO and DFA for the agency or entity to make this request to them. It will include the description of the need, the explanation of why the agency cannot cover the expenses with their existing appropriation, the impact of disapproval, the plan to avoid or limit any additional deficit or supplemental appropriation, the listing of all funds the entity is authorized to expend, the amount appropriated from each fund, the amount of funds expended at the time of the request, and their current cash balance of their funds. The Legislative Budget Office and Department of Finance and Administration shall approve, recommend changes, or create new plans to avoid or limit the need for any additional deficit or supplemental appropriation for each state agency, department, or institution based on the information provided in this standardized request form. And this law would go into effective past July 1st. I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Are there questions for Senator Polk?
Title sufficient, do pass.
None. Their motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Polk. Next is House Bill 1519. This is Short Line Railroad Bill. Y'all may recall that we passed a similar bill in committee. I did not take it up off the calendar because I knew the House bill had passed. We did make a revision, so there is a strike all in front of you, and the revision primarily deals with the length of term that the town would own the short line railroad. We had in our bill originally that that if the town did not own it, that would revert back to the previous owner. There were concerns about that because there's a federal grant as part of the funds that were given for this project. And after discussing with the attorneys, both outside attorneys and in-house attorneys, and also the House members, that we felt like that a 20-year commitment from the town would be sufficient to cover that they're obligated to maintain the railroad for that 20-year period of time, and they can't sell it until or do anything with it until after that point. So that's what the strike all contains in it. I will yield for questions. Senator Seymour, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In section 2 of this, when it's talking about a town acting as the governing body, this is still just within the geographics of the town itself?
No, they can actually own. Part of their request to get the federal grant they got was to give the town the money, and they can actually operate the railroad for up to, I think it was 50 miles is the limit. Yeah. No more than 50 total route miles in length.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Seymour. Are there other questions? Not. Senator Polk. Motion is to adopt the strike all. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Now motion, Senator Post. Motion is title sufficient to pass strike all. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Moving to item 3 on the agenda, House Bill 1706. And again, I'll call on Senator Polk to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is another ARPA bill. If you'll look at it, section 1 brings forward a code section for possible amendment for the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. Section 2 does the same thing. It brings section 27-104-323 forward for possible amendment. It also transfers any interest remaining in the fund on July 1st of this year to the CSFR fund. And it authorizes state fiscal officer to transfer any principal funds remaining in the fund up to the federal government. Hopefully that won't be much, or if any. Then section 3 through 11 brings code sections forward for possible amendment. When we get to section 12, since the legislature will end the session in April, this is the sweep language to ensure that all funds are obligated and nothing is returned to the U.S. Treasury. In subsection 1, it clarifies that based upon current Treasury guidance, all ARPA funds must be obligated by December 31st of this year and must be expended by December 31st of 2026. DFA will determine the amount of unobligated funds as of November 1st of this year. It requires any agency to notify DFA if they have any unobligated funds from the passage of this act until November 1st. From the passage of this act and by no later than November 5th, DFA will transfer any of the unobligated funds back to the main ARPA fund. The DFA will be able to retain the lesser of the estimated cost of ARPA administration, or $25 million. If you'll remember, recently we passed a bill that obligated $20 million for administration for DFA and their contractee. This $25 million includes that 20 million, so it would only be an increase of $5 million. By no later than November 6th, DFA will transfer these funds to the ARPA for the MDOT Maintenance Project Fund. That will be the overflow. If there's overflow that we have not appropriated, it will all go to the MDOT Maintenance Project Fund. Section 13 creates the fund to put the funds in, which is the maintenance program of the MDOT 3-year plan. And the Department of Transportation may escalate its budget for any ARPA funds received through the transfers in section 12. Section 14, we've been reviewing all the agencies. And if you'll remember, we passed a bill, a Senate bill of about $144 million, maybe closer to 145 back in the earlier session. This is just the exact numbers that we have now. It's a little less than what we approved back in the bill several weeks ago. It also includes a reverse repealer because, as you know, this will be an ongoing negotiation and conversation for the next few weeks. I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Are there questions? Senator Norwood, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have an idea how much money that has been obligated and expended, I guess, more or less, but has been determined to be ineligible as far as the rules are concerned? And if so, has that money been returned and re-obligated, or is it just sitting out there?
It's a moving target for sure. And as that happens, as is determined that funds are not going to be able to be obligated or used by the deadlines, the funds will be sent back to DFA and put in the fund for further appropriation. And what this bill does is say that we do make sure we have 25 million for administration, and then we have obligated other funds and other bills. And then at the very end, any overflow funds, any that come in after we're gone from here in session, will go into the MDOT 3-year maintenance program fund. That'll be the overflow because they say they can obligate and they can spend by December 1st of 2026, which would then make sure that we don't have to send any funds back to the U.S. Treasury.
Okay, now, I mean, let me make myself clear, I guess.
Okay.
These are funds that were obligated. They've been provided to the entities.
Right.
But I guess Horn CPA are the individuals that were monitoring those agencies determined that the funds were either not eligible for the projects, and they monies that the entities are not using. So I'm saying, do we have money hanging out there that has been obligated but have not been accessed by those entities? If so, how much money is that? And is the money still out there or has it been returned so they could be used for other purposes?
The best way to answer the question is we have right now 1.2 billion of the 1.8 billion that have been obligated. Agencies have not obligated their funds. They're still saying they can, some of them. And in an instance where they cannot, then the money is brought back in. Right now, that is a moving target. We don't know how much that is yet. Yes, the contractor, Horn CPA Group, in most instances, has determined that some projects are not eligible. Those funds will come back and be put in the funds that we have further obligated. The 144 million that we had that we clawed back was part of that. And then, after we get through with the appropriation this year, whatever's left over will go to the MDOT fund.
Do we have an idea how much has been determined not eligible?
I do not have that number. No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, thanks, Senator Pope. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Norwood. Senator DeBar, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Polk, let me just clarify if I can. So we appropriated money to agencies last year and so forth. And so when we say money has not been obligated, that means the agency hasn't conducted an RFP or of that nature, correct?
That's correct.
And they have to be, those funds, the RFP and the contracts have to be entered into by the end of this year. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And so the contract has to be executed by the end of 26. Is that correct?
That's right. And
All
all
the
the funds obligated paid.
All the funds that have been obligated by the agency have to be expended through that contract.
That's correct.
And if they can't be obligated by the agency by the end of this year, we are trying to claw that money back, send it to MDOT or another agency where it can be obligated by the end of this year.
That's right.
And this will prevent us having the federal government from clawing back money and us returning it back to the federal government.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Polk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator DeBar. Are there other questions? Seeing none, the motion is adoption of the motion to adopt the strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, Senator Polk. Motion title sufficient to pass strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Polk. Moving to the item 4, House Bill 1707. This is Senator Harkin's favorite bill. This is actually just keeping alive the House version of the projects bill from last year. The only change in this strike all is there's a provision on line 498 where it says that the fire truck was supposed to go to the town of Summit. It's actually Pike County for that expenditure. Everything else is what we've already passed in committee, and we're just trying to keep 2 vehicles alive for changes as it relates to projects. Are there questions? If anybody else have anything else? We're good on that? Hearing none, the motion is to adopt the strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, title sufficient to pass strike all from Senator Polk. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That will be reported. Let's go to House Bill 317. I'll call on Senator Parker to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a double referred bill. It came out of Public Health. This first one, House Bill 317, is for an emergency medical services memorial to honor those emergency medical service personnel who have given their lives in the performance of their duties. It lays out who will be in charge of this: Department of Health, Archives and History, Bureau of Building and Grounds. It will be near the city of Jackson, and to honor these persons. And the estimated cost of this memorial is about $65,000 to maybe $70,000 total. That's a brief explanation. I yield for any questions.
Are there questions? Seeing none, Senator Parker.
Motion be title sufficient to pass.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. That bill will be reported. Now, item number 6, which is House Bill 760. I will call on Senator Parker again.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a bill to extend the repealer for grants to the Federal Qualified Health Center Program. This is used for two purposes. One is to increase access to underserved or indigent patients for care, and a second is as a one-time supplement to primary care providers who are being recruited into these areas of need. Again, this just simply extends the repealer until July 1 of 2027. Yield for any questions.
Are there questions? Seeing none, Senator Parker. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Hill, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, this chair is sunk down. Makes me even shorter than I am. So this is FQHCs. It says Mississippi Qualified Health Programs in the bill, but this is talking about FQHCs. That was my clarification.
Senator
I'm
Parker.
assuming they're
I
the same thing, that those are
believe
used
they're the same.
interchangeably.
But the bill spells it out as Mississippi Qualified, but I believe Corbin might have a better answer, but I believe they are the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Other questions?
Seeing none, my motion would be title sufficient to pass.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is House Bill 974. This comes to us from the Public Property Committee, and this is to authorize the Department of Mental Health, actually DFA. This is a mental health property that DFA manages. This is authorizing them to sell for a nominal fee a property in Water Valley that they did not utilize. It was a property that was donated to them years ago, did not utilize it. They're not planning to utilize it, so they're going to sell it to the town of or city of Water Valley for a nominal fee. I will yield for questions. This is a strike all, so motion would be title sufficient to pass strike all. Or adopted, I don't know if we have to, since it's coming from the other committee, it's a strike all, but anyway, motion to adopt the strike all, Senator Polk. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now motion, Senator Polk, title sufficient to pass strike all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And then a companion, so to speak, mental health bill, although it's slightly different. There is a piece of property in Tupelo next to the North Mississippi State Hospital that is for sale. It's my understanding that somebody else may at one point was going to buy it, but they're not now. There's a facility on the property, a residential house right now, and it's next door, and the Department of Mental Health within their existing budget and funds would like to use this as a step-down house for patients coming out of the North Mississippi State Hospital. So this would authorize them to purchase this piece of property. It's 0.93 acres, more or less. And again, it's immediately adjacent to the North Mississippi State Hospital. And of course, they'll have to go through the process of getting the qualified appraisals to make sure that they're not paying over market. They're paying the proper price for this. I'll yield for questions if there are any. Seeing none, the motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is number 9 is House Bill 1207. This is a proposal to rename a building at Alcorn State for Dr. Jesse Harness. There is a strike all in front of you. I wanted to make sure that this was something, because this came up last year. I want to make sure this goes through IHL approval too. I'm happy to have the name change, but so that we're not in the position of bypassing IHL on an IHL building. This would be, the strike all should be in your packet, and it would be to approve this with the stipulation that IHL signs off on it. I will yield for questions on the strike all. Yes, sir. Senator McCon, you recognize for a question.
So did this come from the university itself, their board of trustees, or their foundation?
The university, is my understanding, has approved. Last year, the university had not recommended this, and they brought it to the legislature, is my understanding. Senator McCon, this year, it's my understanding the university has signed off on this, but IHL has not given the final approval. And so what I'm asking you to do today is approve this subject to IHL giving final approval on this.
As long as the university is requested, I'm good with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator McCon. Other questions? Seeing none, motion would be, I'm sorry, motion to adopt the strike all, first of all. Senator Polk moves that. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And then now motion to be title sufficient to pass strike all. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. On the next item, I'm going to skip 1106, and that bill has brought up a lot of discussion from individual members in the last 24 hours or so. This bill deals with, I'm just going to let you know, it's approving board certified occupational therapists and psychologists initially for additional pay within the school districts. Since then, I've had other groups that have come and said that they wanted to be in this. And I think it's better for us to hit the brakes momentarily. We've had groups including, the OTs, PTs, psychologists, hearing specialists, dietitians, mental health specialists, and others. This initially started as a board certified program to get our teachers the best trained that they could be. And we have opened it up for some other areas in the last few years. But I think we need to momentarily pump the brakes and take a look at all these specialists and make sure what they're doing corresponds with what our education leaders need. And obviously there's a cost to it. So we got to look at the cost too. So I'm going to pass on that bill, but I do look forward to having some discussion with the members and maybe try to look at something possibly in the off season to see what's the best route to take on all these specialists. Moving on to House Bill 1192, I will recognize Senator DeBar to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1192, which is strike all, coming to us from education. There is no appropriation required in this, so it's revenue neutral. What it does is it directs currently we have a virtual public school district already in law. It's the Department of Education managed that. The original bill created a whole new virtual public school district. And so rather, there's a lot of issues and questions came up about it. It was good language. However, what this bill does, starting on line 86, it directs the Department of Education to provide a report on the current virtual public school that is created in law, make recommendations related to the future role of the virtual education for public schools, provide that to the House and Senate Education Chairman by October 1st of 2024. And the report shall include, but not limited to, an update on the history, costs, usage, and student achievement related to their virtual public school. It should also include recommendations to enhance or improve the virtual school district, including looking at other school districts, Glen East at Gulfport. That superintendent has been utilizing that, hiring or retaining third-party vendors to address the needs of the virtual public school district. Basically, it just help, areas or districts that do not have the teachers to provide, like a chemistry professor up in Greenville could help a student in Greene County, for example. So this just would help provide some virtual education. And this would require the department to provide us a report on how to improve the current program in law. That's an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator DeBar. Are there questions?
No questions. Move for adoption of the strike all.
Seeing no questions, motion is adoption of the strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Title sufficient, do pass strike all.
Motion is title sufficient to pass strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Now moving on to House Bill 1379. I'll recognize Senator DeBar again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This also is a strike all coming from the Education Committee. Does not involve any revenue or appropriations as it first stands in the strike all. There are many vendors out there that are providing services to our school districts about school safety, including mapping of the school buildings and outbuildings, working with other districts. And so what this does is it just basically it creates a task force to provide recommendations to the legislature as to how we should move forward with providing school safety, whether it's mapping schools, who should do it, how it should occur. And it should provide a report to the legislature. And it does have a reverse repealer. And so it just, before we go ahead and continue to appropriate money on school safety, this task force will provide recommendations to the legislature as to how and why we should do certain things. So that's an explanation, Mr. Chairman. Yield for any questions.
Thank you, Senator DeBar. Are there questions?
Around none, move for adoption of the strike all.
Seeing none, motion is adopt the strike all. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, Senator,
Title sufficient, do pass strike all.
motion titles officially passed, strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And finally, House Bill 1450, I'll call on Senator Delano to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this is a proposed committee sub, and I'm going to explain to you that's included in our packet. Number one, this is an effort in a partnership between the Council of State Governments and the Department of Defense. 12 states have already entered into this compact, including Florida and Alabama, and there are other states that are moving through the legislative process right now to adopt similar legislation. This creates a commission across compact states to share information and enact rules that'll make it easier for military spouses who are teachers to move across compact state lines. The state of Mississippi has done a great effort over the last couple of years to alleviate some of the problems that we were seeing in other states. Thanks greatly to our education chairman, and I appreciate him for doing this. This bill is necessary, and the compact is necessary for the state of Mississippi to help score higher and to attract military personnel who will choose the state of Mississippi to come and live and as part of one of their deployments. The bill requires that licensure reciprocation for all military spouses who are teachers that move across the state lines, shares information about licensure and disciplinary act or information across the compact states with the intent of making it easier to obtain a license if a teacher meets the other state requirements. In this revision, the strike all, we've made it clear that all rules promulgated by this commission are only effective in Mississippi or if they are consistent with Mississippi law. It provides any requirements for fees or dues paid to the commission by the state of Mississippi are going to be subject to our appropriations process. And it also restricts the commission's right to sue the state for damages and or attorney's fees, and it restricts the commission's right to facilitate some type of a binding arbitration. Again, the state's done a lot of efforts to help us in this effort, but this is something that will help our military communities and our military families choose Mississippi to come and live. That's or live here in their service to our military. That's an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Delano. Let me add to some things he said. One is that the original compact came over. There's a draft compact that has been prepared nationwide. I looked at several other states today. This just hit me yesterday. So in the last 24 hours, trying to look at some other states, what they've done. They've all seems had some tweaks to their bill. We probably had a few extra things in here that we may have to pull some back, but I think for purposes of moving this forward, some of the discussion that's just been had with Senator DeBar and Senator Delano, myself, and staff too, is looking at some things that may how they comport with Mississippi law. As he said, we've already got a law in the books that allows reciprocity in this case, but if it's affecting us with the Department of Defense or affecting our capacity to bring in other and support military families, we don't want to hinder that. So I think if we can just move this along, there may be some opportunities. We got to change some things back or adjust some things. So I still feel like this one's a work in progress, but we're kind of having to hit it late and put a few things in there that we needed to talk about more and how they relate to our current laws. And there are some provisions in the interstate compact, I'll add this too, that say, as it relates to your current state laws, then they would not conflict with that. But then some of our laws, as we know, are AG opinions as opposed to laws that we adhere to and practice utilizing. So we just want to make sure we get all the details worked out. I think there's still some more work to be done on this. Senator Delano, did you have another comment?
Yeah, just one last thing. There is a reverse repealer in this bill.
Okay, reverse repealer on it too. And this will be back in education. I know they're meeting this afternoon. Are there other questions on House Bill 1450?
Not a move for strike or for the adoption of the strike all.
Motion is to adopt the strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, Senator Delano.
Title sufficient do pass committee strike all.
The motion title sufficient to do pass, strike all. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. That is it for now, and I will entertain a motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. It's me. Maybe in here.